Hi, my name is Joe Elmer, and this is my project for History 325. I want to start with the legacy of immigration in my family. A variety of my ancestors are pictured here. My grandparents were of Northwest European descent, predominantly Danish and English. Some came to America as early as the 1620s. Unfortunately, I haven't found the Rockefellers, Astors, or Carnegies in my line. My mom's parents were poor farmers who lost their farm to foreclosure during the Depression. We moved many times when I was young. My parents provided a roof over our heads, except, of course, when my dad got really sick and my brother paid for our house payments with the money he made working at McDonald's. I had no one to pay for my education. There was no trust fund or inheritance. You might wonder what legacy my parents left me. We also might consider the question, what is the legacy of immigration over the last 4 centuries in the U.S.? We have studied in this course many themes that we can't overlook. Is it a legacy of repression and white dominance? Is it the decimation of Native American culture or the evil of slavery? Or how about exclusion and restriction? Are these the real legacy of the history of American immigration? My argument is that there's a more powerful and enduring legacy. The legacy of immigration in the United States is defined not by bigotry but by optimism and hope. I argue in my term paper that those hopes and aspirations are based on a framework of freedom and self-determination. The concept of immigration being a result of pushes and pulls played out as America becomes a shining beacon to masses that are pushed from their countries by oppression, war, and famine. But also America pulls immigrants toward it with promises of land ownership, jobs, and the opportunity for hard work and the freedom to regulate one's own course. So when we consider the question, why America, consider that the establishment of America provided a platform upon which the principles of natural rights and freedom could build. Thomas Jefferson commented on this foundation. He suggested they were, quote, a composite of the freest principles found in the English Constitution. With that platform in place, America was an ideal landing place for millions of immigrants pushed from their countries. They came for a variety of reasons. Some fled religious persecution. Others were dealing with the impact of war and conflicts. Another external influence pushing immigrants to America was famine and pestilence. The Irish potato famine between 1845 and 55 saw more than 1 million poor Irish Catholics swarm New York and the East Coast. My first primary source document deals with the challenges associated with such a push migration. It is a letter written by John Mitchell and published in the New York Daily Times in 1856. Mitchell is a recent immigrant to the U.S. In his letter, he discourages his Irish countrymen from segregation, encourages assimilation. He said, quote, "It is time to truly become American." He emboldened his countrymen to take advantage of the principles of freedom and self-determination in an abundant land versus looking backwards towards Ireland and the hunger and poverty that they had faced there. Now, another push revolved around the instability in late 20th century Southeast Asia. The Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot, had exterminated intellectuals in Cambodia and sponsored a genocide that took the lives of 2 to 2.5 million Cambodians. Kui Ki came with his completely destitute family to California at the age of 10. Parents and children worked picking fruits and vegetables just to survive. His mom and dad eventually saved enough money to buy a donut shop and then another. Their emphasis with their children was on education and hard work. Ki eventually graduated from community college, received scholarships to the University of Pacific, and then received a dental degree from USC. In an interview with the Stockton Cambodian History Project, he supported the notion of America being a land of unparalleled opportunity, saying, quote, "My family was willing to risk our lives for a chance at freedom. Life in the United States has been amazing. I can't imagine a better country. You have an opportunity to be whatever you want to be." There were more than just circumstances pushing migration to America. It's also important to consider immigrants who were pulled to the U.S. Benjamin Franklin gave this insightful description about the abundance of opportunity. To two primary sources I chose to look at represented the pulls created by the California Gold Rush of 1849 and the Homestead Act of 1862. So let's look first at the discovery of gold in California in 1849 and how that pulled immigrants. I reference a source for a young man, a young German immigrant that comes to California in 1850 to seek his fortune. Frank Lecouveur is representative of millions of immigrants pulled to America seeking wealth and material benefits. He took his turn in the gold fields and several other ventures, finally settling in Los Angeles and eventually becoming a well-respected public servant, Los Angeles County Clerk and County Surveyor. He shared his thoughts about the opportunities available in America. He said, quote, "Next to poverty, it is the greatest misfortune that can weigh upon an industrious, strong-minded youth to have been born elsewhere than in the United States of America." This sister and brother pair, Gro, Svensson, and Ole Nilsson, were part of a vast Scandinavian immigration to the Midwest in the mid-19th century. They settled in Iowa, taking advantage of the Homestead Act of 1862, which granted free land to the settlers. Gro's brother Ole described the pull of America this way, quote, "The land here is so beautiful and fertile that it would be difficult to find any that is better. From the land you can get anything you need. I have felt twice as happy as before, because a man is completely free and independent here." In conclusion, what is the legacy of immigration that you will choose? A legacy of racial bigotry, bringing shame to the nation and enshrining the notion of white privilege, potentially enslaving us and future generations to a dogma of victimization, without ignoring the reality of broad racial injustices that have occurred. I choose to not make that the legacy of U.S. immigration to me. Like I chose not to view my father's legacy to me as one of poverty and instability, but rather to look to the legacy he left me of hard work and reaching for my dreams, no matter how unlikely they might seem, or no matter the obstacles in my path. The real legacy of the history of immigration to the United States is discovered in the notion that the founding principles of this nation provided a platform that first proved seductive to millions experiencing wars, famine, and unrest, and second, provided the opportunities that pulled millions more who wanted to benefit from these truly blessed circumstances. A nation that has been integral in creating what is one of the most dynamic civilizations in the history of this world.